Now request Swati to do the invocation for us, please.
गणनायकाय गणदैवताय गणाध्यक्षाय धीमहि गुणशरीराय गुणमण्डिताय गुणेशानाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि गानचतुराय गानप्राणाय गानान्तरात्मने गानोत्सुकाय गानमर्धाय गानोत्सुकमनसे गुरुपूजिताय गुरुदैवताय गुरुकुलस्थायिने गुरुविक्रमाय गुह्यप्रवराय गुरवे गुणगुरवे गुरुदैत्यकलक्षेत्रे गुरुसर्वसदाराध्याय गुरुपुत्रपरित्रात्रे गुरुपाखण्डकण्डकाय गीतसाराय गीततत्त्वाय गीतगोत्राय धीमहि गूढगुह्वाय गन्धभट्टाय गोजयप्रदाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Swati. According to our traditions, I now request the guests to join us in lighting the lamp, please. Thank you so much. We now have the welcome speech by our Secretary, Mr. Ravi Shankar sir. He is the Honorary Council of Synod. Sir, I please request you to welcome the gathering for us.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಹಾಗೂ ಆದರದ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. Good evening to all of you. On behalf of Laghu Udyog Bharati, IMS Foundation and Global Network Institute, it gives me immense pleasure to warmly welcome all the distinguished guests speakers, entrepreneurs, and participants gathered here today for this special introduction session. Today's session focuses on a highly relevant and future-driven topic, that is, why and how should food companies in India adopt AI? Artificial intelligence is no longer a technology of the future. Not only the and it is becoming a necessity for industries across the world, from manufacture to supply chain management. AI is transforming the food industry in remarkable ways. This interaction is therefore a wonderful opportunity for all of us to learn, exchange ideas, and understand how Indian food companies can adopt innovation and technology to become globally competitive. We are truly honored by the presence We are truly honored by the presence of our esteemed speakers today, and a very warm welcome to Dr. Bijna Kotak Dasani, member of the most excellent order of the British Empire and an entrepreneur, investor, and a global business leader. Welcome, madam. And a very warm welcome to Mr. Rob Neely, founder director of Securely Group Australia, and an expert in patented fintech solutions. Welcome, sir. Your valuable insights and experiences will surely inspire all of us present here today. Once again, I warmly welcome you all and wish everyone a meaningful and enriching session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ravi Shankar sir. Well, it gives me an immense pleasure in welcoming the guests with us. May I now request Mrs. Vasudha, our State Secretary, to felicitate Dr. Bijna, please. I request Ravi Shankar sir to felicitate Mr. Rob Neely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi Shankar sir. Thank you, Vasudha. Let's begin today's session. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce you all to our first speaker of the day. We have Dr. Bijna Kotak Dasani with us. Dr. Bijna Kotak Dasani, MBE, FRSC, is a founder, investment banker, third entrepreneur, investor and venture capitalist with over 25 years of experience across global financial services. She has advised leading Wall Street institutions, sovereign entitles, and now serves on the investment committees and advisory boards of multiple venture capital funds worldwide. Dr. Bijna also deploys private equity through her family offices and advises ventures on diversification and international expansion. A fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, she is an alumni of University of Oxford and Plymouth University, where she has scored an honorary doctorate. Her work has been featured in several global publications and books on the leadership, innovation, and transformation. In 2020, she was appointed as a member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire (MBE). She was recognized by Queen Camilla for her contribution to financial policy reforms and inclusions and named as Venture Capitalist of the Year India in 2025. We welcome Dr. Bijna. The stage is over to you.
just...
The pointer is here.
Namaste everyone, good afternoon, and thank you for that beautifully warm welcome. See if am I audible here now? We'll try again. Namaste everyone, good afternoon, and thank you for that beautiful warm welcome. And congratulations to Laghu, Udyog, Bharati for the new initiatives that you are launching. I was learning about the conference that you'll be having next year, the work that's being undertaken, and also the fact that this is a kind of an initiation of what's going to be a very large-scale program and a large-scale transformation in the years to come. So I'm delighted to be here, and it's an honor and privilege. And thank you all for having us. So when we talk about the landscape for food security, when we talk about the landscape for food as an industry, and when we talk about the landscape of FMCG broadly and technology within that, of course, AI has a very interesting role to play, like with all industries. However, there are, like with all opportunities, a lot of risks. And so what I'd like to do today is spend a little bit of time talking about the risks, the opportunities, and also the solutions, of which Rob has one that we would like to share. So I will shortly hand over to him. But let me do a little bit of context setting for you. AI adoption globally, am I clearly audible? I feel like it's chiming out a little bit. Yeah, maybe, is that better? Okay, so AI adoption globally is pretty significant across industries, across sectors. However, in India, specifically in FMCG retail and in the food value chain, we're only seeing a 40% adoption. Now that's partly because of how our country is set up. There's, tier 2, tier 3, and beyond cities that are still coming into that adoption rate. There is a deployment of technology. There's a cost of deployment of technology. But broadly speaking, it means that there's a 60% opportunity for us to still saturate, penetrate, and do more with. And really, in the broader food chain, there are a couple of specific areas where we are already enabled, we are already innovating, we are already bringing change for India, for the rest of the world. But those are categorized into four main verticals. The first is the fork to farm, where we are seeing huge profitability, but we're also seeing disintermediation of the process because there are challenges around integrity of the process, integrity of the quality, and also integrity of knowledge and people. We are also seeing food delivery, the emergence of platforms like Zomato, Swiggy. I mean, I personally use these multiple times a day. We are seeing a complete dynamic shift where AI is backing the cloud kitchens, it's backing the efficiency of the platforms. We are seeing QSR channels, which this also links to, and then we are seeing large-scale processing. In large-scale and agri-food processing specifically, India is pretty dominant in the agriculture vertical of the market. So the market at the moment is valued at 84 million US dollars. It is projected to reach $415 million by 2035. That's a CAGR of 18%. On the food processing automation aspect for manufacturing specifically, and I understand there are discussions around manufacturing specifically in this room. Interesting fact for you. Today the valuation is 27 billion US dollars, and we are likely to take that to $39 billion by 2030. Now, while that sounds like a big number, it's actually only a CAGR of 7%. So again, there is more that can be done. There is an opportunity for us to innovate, and there is an opportunity for us to help accelerate that as well. Because if we compare to other industries, it's not on par. Then the numbers basically show that... All right. If you can't hear me, please tell me. That with every opportunity comes risk. So if we take an accelerated process around this and we say, okay, let's innovate, let's go fast. The risk is that we don't today have the right policies and frameworks in place. It's not an India only problem, it's a global problem. But it's a huge area of exposure when it comes to public interest and public trust. And if I just take a step back and look at what's been going on in the media just in the last 3 months, and you will have read all the more conspiracy theories coming from the West on what happened in the pandemic. Are we as a human race safe from technology? Are we as a human race safe from each other? What is stopping artificial insemination and damage to food security to disproportionately challenge the world in certain ways? And so with that speed and that pace and that opportunity, we have to remain mindful that there also comes a responsibility to create policy, to create frameworks, to create statute that doesn't exist today and set a path for the rest of the world. So just be mindful of that. We are seeing, as I talked earlier, platforms like Swiggy, Zomato doing very well to create efficiencies. We are also seeing them as enablers for fraud detection in the food ecosystem. However, I would stress that there is still an opportunity as well as a responsibility to do more. There was a research paper on AI in Indian food in 2025. And it said that whilst AI is operational and underpinning a lot of the, what you call the invisible logic in the ecosystem, like cloud kitchens, the advanced penetration, the pace, again, it's not capturing the risks. It's not capturing anything about the quality of the food. It's not making sure that if, let's say, tomorrow a 12-year-old child is ordering a meal after school, that it's actually, edible food that he's going to get, he or she's going to get. It's not poisonous, it's not going to cause health issues, it's not going to cause a catastrophe of some sort. So again, the opportunity brings its own challenges. Looking forward in terms of the situation and where we go from here, we do see that the rise that we are seeing in India with AI adoption in the food security ecosystem or in the food manufacturing ecosystem is attributed to rising urbanization, partly linked to digital payment penetration, which Rob will talk to you about in a minute. We were with the regulator this morning, and there are some very interesting, again, opportunities but dialogues around risks that we need to proactively manage. Expansion of quick commerce, which is now infiltrating tier 2, tier 3 cities and beyond faster than ever before, even faster than we saw in the pandemic. Expansion of cloud kitchens, but again, without the health and safety component, which brings the example I gave you of the child, it brings its own challenges for vulnerable customers. And then what we are seeing is localized government pushes for provision of agriculture, kind of, taking the farm to table or the food innovation ecosystem. But again, we're not seeing that unified approach. And so I think that if, as an ecosystem pan-India, we can find a way to partner with, our fellow groups across the country and start that dialogue, it would be the first of its kind in the world. If we think about food security more broadly, we live in a world right now where we are more connected than ever before as human beings, and more informed, but equally more disengaged with each other as well, given what's happening geopolitically, given what's happening economically. And so the critical areas that we need to be mindful of where there could be further exposure for us, some are in our control, some are not, but I think we should keep them at the forefront of our decision making. Of course, one is climate change and extreme weather directly impacts the food ecosystem. Economic instability, again, huge implications. I just came back from the United Kingdom where I, of course, grew up and lived for many years. And it was a real sight to see that the cost of living crisis is pushing people not only out of their homes, but to hunger and starvation. And I was last there 6 months ago, and I was discussing with friends who sit in government agencies. 6 months ago, there were not enough places, enough shelters for people who are being displaced from their homes. Now the problem is that the cost of food, because of the geopolitical situation is so high that families are having to ration how many meals they're having in a day. And the cost is going up in supermarkets, and it's never going to return to the rates that it was at 3, 4, even 10 years ago. But I sat with a think tank, a charity that I support actually, called Surviving Economic Abuse. And we have, in the last so many years, changed legislation for economic disempowerment. And we have tied up with all of the banks and the regulators in the UK, and now a lot of countries are following what we're doing. But you are a vulnerable customer or a vulnerable citizen if you cannot have an increment in your salary because of the economic situation. But equally, you cannot afford the cost of living, whether it's your EMI, whether it's your food costs, and you cannot afford to sustain a family. And there is no government intervention, there is no support, and basically children are going to school hungry, old people are suffering without meals, and there are so many issues. So again, I think there is a piece around economic instability that is very live, very much affecting the world in which we live, and we need to be mindful of. There is also a piece around systematic inefficiencies, okay, linked to the first two, but also more about the manufacturing, the value chain, the production ecosystem, and how we piece this together. And then that again translates into loss. I think the wastage number globally is 17% of all food is lost in the value chain, just pure wastage from farm to table or farm to market. And that again contributes to disproportionate food inequality. And then we have a very unpredictable supply chain, and we have a market situation that none of us at the moment we can influence, but we cannot control. And so, if I summarize all of this, it takes me to a IMF report that was published last year, International Monetary Fund, which basically said that AI innovation in food is very interesting, very important, but it must have robust regulatory frameworks. Anything that develops with technology in the food ecosystem must have these robust regulatory frameworks. They need to have been delivered kind of yesterday. They cannot be done by the regulators alone. They need to be informed by the industry, the ecosystem that's responsible for running and generating this ecosystem. And really what we need to do is make sure that we have a safe, a responsible environment which not only maintains food security, but food integrity. Think again about that 12-year-old child organ, right? Food integrity, and therefore link that to public trust so that we as a race are not only supporting each other, but supporting the planet. So I'm going to leave you with that. I've laid out all the problems in the law and what we need to do, laid out the current status quo, and I'm going to introduce my colleague Rob, who is going to talk us through some solutions on what good might look like. And this is all very live. We were with RBI this morning. We have been discussing this for the last week amongst different cities in India. And for me, it's a very natural, organic solution to a very prevalent problem. So I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vishna, for the insightful talk. I would take my privilege to introduce you all to Mr. Rob Neely with us. He's the founder of Securely Group Australia. With a rich background in technology, innovation, business, startups, entrepreneurship, and investment, Rob Neely is a recognized leader in the fintech space, has established himself as one of the Australia's top serial entrepreneurs and thought leaders. His work has been featured in the leading publications in the CEO magazines, Tech Church, Business Insiders, and The Australian. Rob brings a unique perspective to an end-to-end operation, combining deep technology knowledge with strategic business acumen. Rob's innovations contribute to the fintech industry, has granted global recognition, including being named as 2024 Fintech Innovation Business Leader of the Year, APAC. A technical expert turned business leader, Rob has founded and run multiple companies, constantly delivering results, known for his disciplined approach. He's often seen as a problem solver and has served as a seasoned executive with the board leader experience. I now hand over the stage to you, Rob. Please take over. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm clearly from Australia. I hope you can all understand my English, and if you can't, I can speak slower. Before I start, and thank you for the beautiful welcome, before I start, I just want to get a poll of the room. So how many people in this room are food manufacturers? Right, so quite a few. How many people are primary producers? One? Right. Two? Okay, don't be afraid. Put your hand up if you're a primary producer. So 2 people so far. So I've curated the talk to, I'm going to blend in what I do for a living and hopefully give you an idea of where AI will take packaged food and primary production. So let's start with this, this beautiful, thank you, I know it's a mango, a premium Alfonso mango, right? You know, it's delicious. We all know that. And, you know, let's just put ourselves in a position that you're picking up this mango in a supermarket in Berlin. And by its identity, its future identity, you can tell it was picked 48 hours ago off a tree in Ratnagari. Excuse me if I get that name wrong. But that's food identity. And there's great value in it. So what I'm going to try and take you through is the chain that's existing now with the GI tags and what's going to happen in the future. So if you can bear with me through the talk, we'll get to an end talking about how AI can help you. Another poll. How many of you in this room are using AI in your business right now? So about half by the looks of it, thereabouts. How many of you are using it at home on ChatGPT or Grok or which are called LLMs, right? So the distinguishing part is that they're LLMs and that's what we're using. But AI in the business, in your food production line, how many of you are using AI in your food production lines? Not many? None? Anyone? No? Okay, so AI chain, oh, that's nice and strong. AI chains are well established so far as production. So when we're talking about from the paddock to the plate or the farm to the fork, I think Bitner used, there are sophisticated AI tools being used. That's right. Sophisticated AI tools being used right at the moment. Time and day to pick whatever you're picking from the paddock, how much moisture is in the air, that's all available right now. And then AI following the food, following the transport chain and the food chain and the cold chain from there, that's all available right now. But everyone's still relying on the old principle of using labels to put it on this beautiful mango. And we're going to have a look into that today. For most of human history, that's been good enough, or at least we've told ourselves that's the case. But for keen observers over the last couple of weeks here in India, you may have noticed in the Economic Times there was a discussion about fake food. And I think this might have been last week when I was in Mumbai, it was in the paper, and they were showing different biscuit packets. Only one of them was real. And the other 2 weren't. There were some examples just recently of, is it Bisleri, the water? Bisleri, I think that was in the paper yesterday. A real bottle of Bisleri and then 2 fake bottles with spelling mistakes, I think you there. So, and they were actual spelling mistakes. So they made mistakes on purpose, right? So where we are right at the moment is fraud and scams are going to affect your value chain. And it's not a matter of if or when, it's going to happen, right? It's already happening now. So the purpose of what you can use AI for is really, really valuable, extremely valuable, because it can give you provenance. And if you use it properly, you can say that this mango that you're buying in a supermarket in Berlin is actually picked. You can go back to how it was picked. You go back to who picked it. That's the value of what you guys can actually gain from using AI in your businesses, especially in this magical country of India. Honestly, I'm an Australian. We're all about primary production. We've got a massive, massive continent, or island, in fact. My family's been in primary production. My uncle was a dairy farmer. I milked cows for the first 12 years of my life. Every summer holiday I was out milking cows. So I know it quite well. We've still got horses, we've still got farms ourselves. Out of interest today, who saw this in the the Bangalore Times of India? Did anyone see this? Okay, what it says for the benefit of everyone, it says it's talking about Darjeeling. Now, Darjeeling, everyone knows it. I know it. Everyone around the world knows Darjeeling, right? But now it wants to become the champagne of tea. It wants to be recognised as the very best, the highest level, and it wants provenance. And when you think about it, when provenance is to be able to use the word champagne in the label. So as an Australian, all of our sparkling wine that we used to call champagne, we can't call it champagne anymore. So that's the provenance because it doesn't come from Champagne or Burgundy or Riesling. They're all provenance. And that's where Darjeeling is heading. But at the moment, they're still hamstrung because they're still using GI tags. We are in the era of generative AI. Now, for those that don't know AI terms, and I'm sort of going off script here, but that's just me. For those that don't know AI terms, there's artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence has been around for about 50 years. It's not new, guys. It's been around for a long time, okay? But it's now refined, and we now have the capacity to grow it and to have it work at massive speed. So who knows what agentic AI is? One hand, two hands, three, four. Great. Well, you're all going to learn something today. Okay, so generative AI, they're both very similar words, and sometimes it's hard to get your head around it. Generative AI is when you hop on ChatGPT and you want to generate a picture or a funny something with someone else's face on it, which is what people use it for. It can also be used for products. It can be used to build SOPs. It's really good. I mean, it's terrific. But that's what it does. It's called a large language model. Okay? But now you've got more advanced large language models and agentic AI. And agentic AI is like this group of, if you imagine all these people in this row in front of you here, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 lovely ladies by the looks of it in the row. Imagine if they're computer bots, right? Imagine they're electronic. Those ladies, if they're working as a human, you'll be able to do 10 phone calls with 10 people, 1 phone call a minute, 60 times an hour. And that's what happens in the spam centres. With agentic AI, the lovely lady here in the purple will be an agent, and she will make 100 phone calls or 100 initiations of fake derivatives. So in other words, that'll be the first agent that will reach out. And let's say half of them actually respond, then it goes on to the next agent, the lovely lady next to her. And she'll do something else. And so on and so it goes until you get to the lovely person up the end there, the lovely lady up the end there. And that will be an agentic AI agent that will ring you up on your telephone with a human voice. A human voice so accurate you won't be able to tell the difference. It could mimic your mother's voice and you would not be able to tell the difference. You would have to question it. Like, Mum, what was the colour of the house that we lived in when I was 6 years old? The agent won't know that. So there are tells. There are ways we can tell. But of course, if I've got a sticker on this beautiful mango up here, anyone can produce a sticker. So you guys are all going and producing with your manufacturing facilities And now scammers can come in over the top, and all the money and effort you've put in will be absorbed by what you've built by the scammers coming in over the top. So I have gone off script, but I wanted to give you an idea because I didn't realise so many of you had not used it in your business yet. All I can say is that, and I can reflect on the last time I asked that question about 2 weeks ago in Australia, a group of business people like you, probably 40%, maybe 50%, about half the room said, yes, we're using it in our business. So if you take one thing away from my rambling speech today, please go back to your offices, go back to your home, enrol in, there's so many free courses for AI online, and get versed with it. Understand it. Because where it will take you, it will astonish you. It really will. So start small and then move up. There's also paid courses. Be careful with some of those. Some are not so good. Again, they're nice and glossy and look fabulous, but get involved in it because you'll work out ways you can it'll help your business. You might be able to save money. You might be able to make it more efficient in the value chain. But whatever it is, and I don't know your businesses separately, but whatever it is, get involved in it. I'll try and get back onto my actual talk. So, I think the trust problem, I've outlined what the trust problem is at the moment. We can no longer use those old tags and those old stickers. Food fraud, I'm very tired, I'm sorry. Cost the global economy between $40 and $50 billion a year. And as Bijner alluded to, it contributes to roughly 1.6 million people falling ill from unsafe or contaminated food every day. So it's a major issue for you guys. In 2023, Spanish and Italian authorities seized over 260,000 litres of olive oil being sold as extra virgin. It wasn't extra virgin. In fact, some of it wasn't even olive oil, but it was marketed as olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. In 2025, Portuguese authorities confiscated thousands of litres of, again, fake olive oil and 5 tonnes of counterfeit honey. And honey's quite valuable, as you know. The European Commission survey found that 46% of honey samples tested in EU markets were suspected of being adulterated with cheap plant syrups. And when, of course, there was a UK horse meat scandal that broke out a decade ago in Tesco, just one of the supermarkets that was caught up in it was being sold as beef and it was actually horse meat. And in the UK, you can't do that. It cost Tesco, it cost 300 million euros in market value in a matter of days. And that's what you guys will be competing against, generative AI, because your customers will not be able to tell the difference. The fakes are getting that good. So the old trust stack, I should say, of branding and packaging and paper certificates, geographic indicators and reputation was built for a world that no longer exists. So the question is, and will be, can this product prove who it is? Not once, but on demand throughout its life cycle. And we're going to move into that. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about what I do for a living, which is pretty much we're involved in identity tech for humans, and we're also involved in identity tech for artificial agents. So, and then we'll parallel it across to the food industry and what you can do in the future, because there's value in this. There's value all the way back to the primary producer, to those lovely people that are the beautiful Indian spices. How many counterfeits do you think are out there of those that are not from where they say they are from? So you've got to start thinking on the lens of how can we prove it? How can AI help? So what I do for a living, we have, it's called FinTech and Identity Tech and Pay Tech. So it's financial technology, identity technology and payment technology. So our first patent, and this will just be a bit of a narrative so you understand how we work. Our first patent works in the area of social media fakes. And the biggest problem in the world at the moment is not food forgeries or food fakes, it's actually social media fake profiles. And we have a solution for that. And the solution is the only way you can establish a social media profile is accurate is by going back to your bank, who have all of your information. They have everything. They know who your family is. They have your mortgage. They know who you are. So it's not about a bank, someone proving that they say they are with a blue tick. If the bank actually onboards your profile to the banking system, people can trust you. Because we all trust our banks. We might not like them, but we trust them. So that's the best place to start, where we know the known identity. It's better than the Aadhaar. Having your bank say you are who you are is better than the Aadhaar. I've heard stories recently, there are people with multiple Aadhaars. Okay, so that's not perfect yet. So I won't go into the mechanisms of it, but that's how we actually prove who people are, who their social media identity is. And the next part that we patented was for dating websites, for the same thing. Now, I'm sure everyone in the room here has heard about what can occur on dating websites. It's not very pretty. In fact, it's horrible, okay? And it's the same principle because people, they're not verified. I can pick up my phone and create a dating profile. And I can call myself Bugs Bunny. And guess what? They'll let me do it. I can grab any photo I want and say it's me, as long as one of them in my photo gallery is the real me. Because how the algorithms work is they scan all the photos, and if they find one of you that matches your actual identity, they'll say, yep, way to go. In fact, I go to identity conferences, and we have great big boards up in the identity conferences and people talking about identity. You've probably all been to them in the big convention centres, and they have the photos of the people sitting there looking very esteemed. And I actually, many, many times, I'm going, which one's that? Who is that by photo? Because you can't tell, because they've used one that's 20 years old. They've used one that they're 20 years younger. So, and that's an identity conference. So that's the area that I work in. Where we have expanded to at the moment, and you'll see some of our products come out in India in the next couple of years, probably maybe perhaps one by the end of this year. Where we've expanded into is AI identity. And I'll get to the point of how it affects you guys. So there are these agents now working around the world. There's about 1 to 2 billion agents. Remember we talked about these beautiful agents in the row here? There's about 1 to 2 billion of them now working around the world, mainly for corporations, mainly for the big AI, LLMs and Grok and ChatGPT and Perplexity, Microsoft, it goes on and on, all of the big players, right? But by the end of this year, they're expecting that to grow to 4 billion agents. By the end of the following year, they're expecting it to be 8 to 10 billion agents working. And none of them have any identity attached to them. So personally, our family, and I'm sure many of you will have stock portfolios where you invest, or you have investment portfolios. Well, our family uses some agents to now look after our stock portfolios. And all we need to do now is just literally have a look at it in the morning, see that it's been behaving itself and it's making me money. And we're all happy. But none of those agents have got an identity to it. Not one. Not one Aadhaar attached to the agent. Not one corporation attached to the agent. So think of it like this. What happens if I die tomorrow? Who turns the agents off? There's no structure there to do it. Hopefully someone will know they're there and it's still making money after I'm gone. But I mean, I'm being silly saying that, but that's the trouble we're at the moment. So when we go to 10 billion agents in 2 years, we're going to need identity. We're going to need to know who is who in the zoo. so to speak. And that's what we're doing. We're providing some structure around that. We're providing a register for them because there will be private agents who are working for you, like my ones. They'll be doing your shopping. You'll leave them a list, or you'll instruct it on the phone and say, I want some olive oil, hopefully real olive oil. I want a mango, and I want it from this particular village, and I want this and that. And the agents will do that, and then it'll be delivered to your door. So that's what they'll do. They'll replace what you're doing and make life much better for you. So where does that take us? I'm supposed to be going through slides, and I'm not getting anywhere. But where does that take us? What can we do for food is the question. How do we make life better for food manufacturers and primary producers? Imagine the mango over there, and it's in Harrods in London, and it might have been purchased at the point off the tree. I don't know what a mango costs at the moment, so I'm probably just guessing. But it's purchased for a couple of rupee. How much would they get for a mango off the tree? Anyone want to give me an idea? 10 rupee? One. Right, okay, thank you. So, of course, that's what the person got when they picked it, the farm owner, right? But it's a beautiful mango, look at it. I can't wait to eat it tonight. But, so, in Harrods, they're probably paying £4, right? Now, how do we know it's from the field and the tree that it says, Harrods says it comes from? How do we know? We don't. We're relying on that silly little label that anyone can now reproduce. So how can we fix that with AI? Right, there are a number of ways we can do it. And the chain, you should be able to, in the next couple of years, scan the QR code or the cryptographic logo on it, and that's probably what it's going to be rather than the QR code. And it should be able to tell you, while you're sitting in Harrods paying for your £4 mango, it should be able to tell you, it was picked 48 hours ago, it was picked at this geolocation, and possibly it was picked from this tree. That's what we should be able to do with AI. Right? And if we get it right, if we get the identity part of the food chain right, it's going to be extraordinary. Because that person that picked it for, did you say 10 rupee or? If people know that mango is so beautiful from that tree and that person, they'll pay more, won't they? So we're providing an uplift for the primary producer. And it's got to, of course, stream down again. But they are the ones that should be putting the identity there in the first place, saying, this was picked by me at a particular time. And then it makes its way through the food chain to London. And that can be for anything. It can be for biscuits. It doesn't matter if it's got a story behind it. It's got an identity. And hence we go back to Darjeeling tea. And that's what they want to do. They want to make this the champagne of tea. And they will, I'm sure they will. But how many other products in India could we use AI to establish identity? You guys make some beautiful primary produce, and it gets exported around the world, doesn't it? So that's just a touch of what you can do. As far as the manufacturing goes, I've owned some manufacturing facilities in animal health, and we used to make a lot of horse feed, very, very expensive horse feed. But we differentiated it. The horse feed didn't come in plastic bags, it came in, I'm trying to think, it came in jute bags with a particular logo, and the jute bags are expensive. They came from here, in fact. Right? So people knew that the product was the product. You couldn't really just make a fake of it. So this is where the value is for you guys if you can add AI into your food chains, into your manufacturing as well. I don't know the specific uses you're all in, whether it's fish, vegetable, meat, whatever, I don't know. But if you can think, if you're proud of what you're doing and what you're manufacturing, and you want to attach an identity to it, back to the field, to the paddock, to the cow, to the buttermilk, then think about it that way. How AI can not only make your life more efficient in your factories, speeding up production, increasing quality, but provenance, identity. Does that all make sense? Is everyone following with that? So I'll just quickly refer to my notes and make sure that I've covered everything. I've actually noticed some stuff here. So first, it must be built to open standards. So the platforms that we need to build to follow the food through the chain must be open standards. It can't be owned by one corporation. So there needs to be regulation around it, and behind the regulation, there has to be solid, reliable AI-based tracking. Second, the technology must work for the smallholders. So on this value chain from the mango, from the tree, it's still got to work for the person that's doing it. It's for the primary producer. I was out in the last mile. I can't remember the village I was out in last Sunday, but where I was asked to go out to the last mile and see what's the best way to put it? There's a group that operates 40,000 sahirs. They're small women entrepreneurs that work out in the last mile villages. And I spent the day travelling from Jaipur out to the villages 4 hours, doing 3 or 4 hours out and then coming back. And those people deserve is that the fruit of their labour is valuable. We owe it a duty of care to actually help them, uplift. Right? That's what we need to do, and that's what can be done with AI. I'm probably gone over time, I'm not sure. I can talk a bit. I'll just have a quick look. Yeah, so I made a note here. So packaging was defined as in the 20th century. You've got to think past that now. Verifiable identity will define the 21st century. I covered all of the hotspots. I will finish up here and you can ask some questions. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Rod, for the delightful talk. Just before we end the session, we have a small presentation by Vasudha about the Global Food Growth Program that we are organizing next year. Before that, if you can look into the files that we're giving, there is a small opportunity to you. This says the question and answer that we're going to take. The 10 minutes that Vasudha is going to take to explain you about the program. You can take the time to write down if you have any questions that you want to ask about the discussion that we just had. You can just raise your hands if you're done writing. We will come to a place and connect the questions to you. It will be moderated later on, and Vasudha will be reading out the questions for all of you. I'll come and collect it from you. Right now, I request Vasudha to give us a talk about the global food program that we have. Over to you, Vasudha.
Thank you, Srividya. How are we all doing? Lovely points touched upon, Rob, Vijna. Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure having you here. And food contamination, traceability. I have goosebumps. So thinking about what we have to do as food entrepreneurs here today, I'm sure we have a lot to think about what we can do to innovate in places here with tech, of course. And yeah, I think it'll be lovely to take questions. So if any of you have questions about what we just heard, please do make a note of it, and it'll be great for me to moderate this with our esteemed panel here to check. In the meanwhile, I'd quickly like to run you through what we've all been thinking about what is Global Food Pro, what is Laghu Udyog Bharati doing with Global Food Pro, what it's all about. First of all, just to give you all a heads up, we have a lot of non-members here as well. I'd like to introduce you to Laghu Udyog Bharati. We are a not-for-profit pan-India organization. We're the only organization that focuses on MSMEs, and we run through all the states of India. We have 65,000 plus members pan-India, and Laghu Udyog Bharati Karnataka is where we are all sitting here today, has over 2,500 members. What Laghu Udyog Bharati does is we focus on, sorry Rob, did you say something? No, okay. So what Laghu Udyog Bharati does is we focus on the future and the support for MSMEs, right? We know the kind of, it's okay to be a home enterprise, it's okay for the larger enterprises, but what the real problem that we face is for the small, micro and medium enterprises, and a support system, an ecosystem to support small, micro and medium enterprises is what Laghu Udyog Bharati has taken up as a force to drive. We have, under Laghu Udyog Bharati, we focus on manufacturing, and we operate across various verticals, right? Today here we are focused on the food vertical, but we operate across various verticals. And India Manufacturing Show, one of the flagship events of Laghu Udyog Bharati Karnataka, has always focused on defense and aerospace and manufacturing, indigenization of products in the manufacturing and engineering space to ensure growth amongst the MSMEs in India. So we have successfully completed 7 editions across the last few years with the India Manufacturing Show. And we thought about when we can do something to bring together, to form an ecosystem and bring together entrepreneurs and support them right from policy, right from implementing policy with the government to tracking it down to what the MSMEs can do to take advantage of it. We thought, why not continue doing the good work across all other verticals, and therefore the idea stemmed that food processing is definitely an industry that we all should focus upon. And the next event that flagship event that we are launching here today is the Global Food Pro, right? So it's a premium international conference and show that we plan to conduct in May 2027. So why are we talking about it today? So there is an increasing demand, and we see that there's a lot of opportunity in India's food processing space. The projected market is about 700 billion by 2030, and we're looking at empowering furthermore MSMEs into getting into this particular sector and seeing how we can provide a space for them to interact and to collaborate. So through Global Food Pro, we are creating a single platform where manufacturers, processors, packaging companies, technology providers, buyers, distributors, retailers, export networks, and the industry leaders collaborate together to form a safe ecosystem through Laghu Udyog Bharati. What we're focusing upon are 17 key areas under food processing, including bakery, beverages, spices and condiments, dairy products. We also are looking at how we can bring together under the same roof equipment and packaging industry. So when we are talking about the whole farm to fork life cycle, we are looking at how we can take a product right from produce until the end product of packaging, and bring the entire supply chain under one roof. So why Global Food Pro and what's in it for all of you? What we're looking at is how can we increase the exports. You see the government is talking about exports, we're talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat today, and how can we play a role in reaching people in the global market. We know today is a challenge because when we go back to mentioning about what Rob mentioned in terms of identity, it's not just on social media and on food, but it's also about how, as a small entrepreneur sitting here in Bangalore, can I reach somebody in the US when I know that my product has a requirement out there in the US, and how do I reach them? How do I know that when I just Google, I'm reaching the right kind of people, right? We're not sure about that yet. So therefore, we are building this platform where we are going to bring in certified buyers from the international markets into our country to meet our MSMEs, where you're able to showcase your product to them, talk about your product to them, and see what kind of um, business opportunities you can get out of this, right? So this is what Global Food Pro is all about. So the event is happening in May 2027. Why are we talking about it today? Because it takes time for you to be able to identify your buyers. It's not just a phone call away where you picked up a phone, you spoke to somebody, spoke to them about your product, and they said, hey, yes, just ship me 20 tons. It doesn't work like that. It happens over a period of time. You have to build trust. So what we do for you through this 1 year is also going to be that exhibitors will get an opportunity to be visiting as delegates to other countries where you can meet buyers through a safe channel that we provide with our partner networks, right? And if you are also traveling all by yourself to a different country to talk about your product in case you have a certain meeting out there, we help you build those connections. You keep us informed about it in advance, and we help you build those genuine connections. We help introduce you to genuine buyers. Now, this can work very well for large enterprises. This can work very well for medium enterprises. What's in it for the small and micro enterprises, right? So we may or may not, all of us may or may not be ready to export our product immediately. But what we can do, and what the MSMEs, or rather the small and micro enterprises in our country today need, is a platform where they have a good product and they're able to increase their scale of manufacturing and supply. So the entire supply chain may be difficult for just a small enterprise to handle. So a contract manufacturing opportunity with larger enterprises, because we have practically seen entrepreneurs here who have wonderful products that they make but need support to scale. And large enterprises can offer that support to scale, right? So contract manufacturing is a large opportunity for the small and micro enterprises. And that's exactly what we're going to do in terms of bringing them as well onto the platform, where either you are able to manufacture and ship your product directly, export it directly, or you contract manufacture for larger brands who already have an ecosystem and a supply chain in place, right? So this is what we are attempting, and I'm very sure, we have. I'm very sure that MSMEs will find this as a great platform to network, to connect. This, like I mentioned earlier, is backed by Laghu Udyog Bharati and the IMS Foundation. What we can expect, we are looking at 250 plus exhibitors exhibiting at Global Food Pro. We are looking at 20,000 plus industry visitors, buyers, and 500 plus delegates from across the globe. We are also conducting Global Food Pro conference, where we will be inviting B2B meetings and speakers who are able to talk about the future, talk about what existing problems are there, and what can we do as entrepreneurs to innovate and take things forward. Most of them talk about problem solving, but how do you know what the actual problem is? You wouldn't know until and unless you're not out there talking to people and understanding what it is all about. And this particular program, Global Food Pro 2027, aims at addressing all this under one roof. So we're looking at how we can build long-term industry growth, bring together everybody in the ecosystem to network. So go ahead, Take your time, please scan the code. Those of you who are interested, I would urge all of you to please register. Or you can also put in an inquiry if you want, and we are happy to share more information about Global Food Pro through the evening and in the days to come as well. I'd now like to take in questions. If any of you have questions, you can. Okay, we have some here. Right, we have an amazing question here, Rob and Vijna. So this is from Mr. B.A. Srinivasan. So the question is, the focus of the talk, Rob, was about identifying fake products, right? What we want to know is, what about food production? Are we talking about user AI, blockchain for traceability?
That is one of the components that we can use blockchain. But there are many more coming. So some of you know that and you had please look it up. It's the next generation of computing. It is said that it's hypothesized because we was only built on a very small but see much computing at scale that would be able to break any encryption that currently exists. And we're also talking about potentially breaking blockchain encryptions as well. So we only know what we know at the moment, and there's no unknowns, no unknowns. But that is widely what we do. So everything that we use in banking right now, we're expecting and anticipating through what's called tokenization. We're expecting quantum computing from the great codes. So we'll have to have what we call quantum digital signatures. And it's a little bit difficult to explain here without putting it on board. A quantum digital signature won't be as we understand digital signature at the moment. It will be, you will send some code to the receiving end that will be from you. And then whenever you want to authorize something, it will go, you will send new code from your own computer, but the other code will expect it to come. So it's not reading the code, but one accepts the code that should come. So what's this way of doing it? It's when you do one-touch verification, quite often will be random code that you're trying to get into the website. It's like that, but the other end, you can possibly do there, it may have 10 million variations just for one entry. So it'll be a form of blockchain, but it'll also be cryptography as well. And it'll be cryptographic signatures on the food and through the process and developing algorithm. And I'll give you an example. So we all got QR codes at the moment, and the UPI uses it. One of the biggest scams that are occurring in Germany right at the moment is they have lots of parking meters. And so the criminals going around putting fake QR codes on parking meters. So when the students pay for parking, you're actually paying the criminal. I mean, they think outside the box. So that's what we got to overcome when we're dealing with this. And what security now is moving towards that, and we're working with quantum computing experts for the last 2 years, and it's probably going to be 5 years away before we get commercial on that. Sorry, I won't too far there.
Sure, that's great. So we have the next question from Mr. Prasanna. So the question is, most food businesses in India are small and family run. What is a realistic first AI approach for them? Not a moonshot, but something that they can do this year. Sure, yeah. So, yeah, that's a question from Mr. Prasanna Dayakar. Yes.
As I said during my presentation, the very first thing you can do as any business is get used to using what we know as large language models. So, what literally started the model, I started with ChatGPT 1.2, and it's changed so significantly. It's changed so significantly. Month after month, year after year since it was implemented. So start with what are the three large language models. Get used to it. Talk to it. You can literally download on your phone. I can ask you questions right now. In fact, it's that. And then please do that before me. And that will help you. You've got to work out what you can use to figure out how to do this. But it's that point now. I was sitting in the car coming back from Jaipur on Sunday afternoon, and we were asking for some stamps from one of the more technical models. And of course, I was talking to it, asking him to give us answers to the discussion with that. And when I put it between my lap, I must have triggered it again, and it was listening. And it was listening to our discussion. And so the discussion went along between the in the car, and we were talking about where we were going to dinner. And then out of nowhere, my phone calls out to me and says, "Hey Rob, that's a really interesting discussion, but I don't think I'm supposed to be listening. But we had a great dinner." And that was on the LLMs. That's how advanced they are. You can quite literally say, "This is my business." You've got to feed it. It's proper feed. So it needs to know about your business. It needs to know about you. And it will respond in time. You know, they don't want one, what's mentioned in ChatGPT, and there's 6 or 7 versions of ChatGPT is very much loaded with bias. So no matter what you say to it, we go, "Great idea, Rob. That'll be its first sentence." So it's sort of, brings you one thing with your friend. So you've got to sort of discount that bias, and if it does go over the top, then say, "Look, don't give me any nonsense. Just literally, just answer the question that I asked." I hope that helps.
So I would just add to that last point. I think with, and there's a lot of debate last year in one of the debates around prompting. Prompting is how you ask the question, how you ask. And I think if we're talking about partnering with businesses, that is what that means for agriculture. That is what that means in longevity. So if you are taking counsel from the technology model to run your business and therefore trust your livelihoods, you've got to be open and careful. So to Rob's point, absolutely learn the LLM models and understand how they work. I would just add another layer, which is I would say be very conscious about the prompting and about what you're asking. I mean, I have a simple example. I sat with some friends last year and we were saying, let's test how valid GPT and complexity are. They put our data firms just to come up with a basic astro feedback on our charts. And 3 out of 5 were wrong. So not everything, because the input is still being assessed, the input is still being cleansed, the data integrity is still being authentically as the block, they are still doing some things, not at a maturity where it is the eyes of mistakes to do. So I would say always question the question and learn to prompt and be very conscious about what you're asking and why you're asking. And then trust it with yourself to start with and to build that integrity into business models.
Follow up to internet just mentioned prompts. I actually, in preparation for coming here tonight on the weekend, on my LinkedIn feed, popped up 100 AI prompts for food and beverage companies. So you can go, I'll share it with Bharati today.
Sure.
I'll just read through some. So here's the prompts you can use in your business. So the first one is demand and spoilage. So SKU demand, forecasting, seasonal demand, volume. I won't go into it. The next one is that inventory price. Then the next one, cold chain, then procurement suppliers, workforce operations, and it goes on. So food safety compliance. But don't always, until you're confident, don't trust everything that comes from it. Double check it. In fact, in our business, in our company, in Australia, we have 4 AI engines, and we test the results from one against the other, and then we go back and do it until it's absolutely refined. That's sort of a high level, but yeah, I'll leave it.
Sure, that'll be great. Okay, we have some common questions here, so I'm compiling that to one question. Are there any live cases of AI being, examples of live cases of AI being used in fresh produce and packaged food?
The main answer is it's all over production. AI, I've been, I think 10 years ago, the early stages of what we now know as generative pork facilities and manufacturing facilities in the US, where the scanning. Well, a great example is this. How many of you using McDonald's bought some chips from McDonald's? Everyone bought some chips or fries at some point? Has anyone found a fry with a mark on it? You know why there's no marks on those fries? It's a little machine scanning going, no, the mark can't be used for us. And it's just literally sitting over the potatoes and going, no, can't use it. That's why they're all good all the time. So that's really low level AI. You see in the manufacturing. But there's enormous benefit to use. That's what we're asking. Just look it up and ask. Download something and ask it. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And we'll have, so there were 3-4 of them who asked the similar question, so we condensed that to one. The last one is, how can AI in fintech enable supply chain finance to enhance business along food value chains?
There are many ways to look at this, but if we're talking about supply chain finance, first of all, we need to validate the integrity of the supply chain. Fintech is a term that I think has been misused over years, and then I think fintech has now become something that is admitted to all the sectors across the geographies, and it's more than just it's an enabler for all tech and all industries. And so, what I would say is when it comes to receiving supply chain finance, or looking at credit line, or you're using discussions around debt, it's very, very, very important to validate the authenticity of the ask of the group that is receiving finance, KYC, of the group giving the finance, and the ability to recover the money. I'm going to come back to the question. But we are seeing unprecedented levels of globally. And I think here there is also exposure where we are in such a complex ecosystem, so nearly every transaction, but without having the right structure and points. And I really think it's such a long single unified platform. I was actually going to say we should have a discussion to see how we can integrate securely into that, but also the dynamics completely in that platform. So I would say do it, understanding that you are not in a territory, you are providing finance, you are taking finance, understand the source of funds, understand, I sat with somebody in Delhi a few days ago, and I said that to Rob about, demonetization happened so many years ago. The way that transactions are being made for the so we wouldn't touch that money in the bargain. And I think that becomes really, really important integrity of process, not just relying on the fact that there's a fintech model behind it, therefore it means integrity. It's understanding what the risks are, understanding what the source of finance is, doing the checks and balances like KYC, and then having a clear understanding of what you're subscribing to. Because you can be very exposed if you are subjected to, let's say, one fraudulent transaction or one fraudulent exercise. Again, going back to family businesses, it can wipe out their entire income and
the answer that we ask models.
Yeah, so AI in fintech for food supply chain finance. I'll run through the, I won't go, it's an in detailed answer, but I'll just run through the bullet points. Smarter credit underwriting for farmers and SMEs, alternative data scoring, cash flow based lending, dynamic discounting, deep tier financing down to smallholders, provenance traceability and risk adjusted pricing, demand forecasting and inventory finance, fraud detection and double financing prevention, climate and yield risk insurance embedded in SCF. Wow, that's a fantastic point. Right, yeah. Cross-border trade finance for food exporters and strategic value across the chain. So AI has an answer for our question as well. Yeah. If you could share this with us, Bob. Yes.
On what you do, just by asking what is the right part.
I also want to come back to the point on the prompts. One point there is very interesting one about protecting the farmers and the agriculture pay.
Right.
Payers. If I see someone last year in Maharashtra, you've got the highest number of farm suicides in the country.
Right.
Okay. If you are not ethical in your process, well, AI will not necessarily give you an ethical answer for supply chain finance, whatever it is.
Right.
You can be costing something there.
Absolutely.
I think again, you're just going to go back to what I was saying earlier about you have to be responsible with our decision making and you really have to learn to self-govern. The more technologically new we get, the more exposure there is, and the more risk aware we need to be.
Thank you. So this was also one of the live demonstrations of how AI prompting helps. So we ask AI the right questions, also put in your intent, and that's when we get our answers. Yes, so do you have a question? Sure. We'll just probably give you a mic, so just give just a minute, please. Yes. So what you want to understand is the industry forecast, especially since India is not completely, I mean, we've not adapted automation completely. We are still in the process of adapting automation. So where do you see AI coming into this? Because India as a country, we are not completely automated, right? Into manufacturing. So this is question regarding manufacturing, automation in manufacturing. Sorry? Manufacturing in food, manufacturing in the food industry.
Manufacturing automation at the moment is 27 billion in terms of market dollars. Projected growth to 39 billion by 2030. So that's what I was saying earlier. The target is 87%. So we're actually behind if we compare ourselves to other economies in our side and here. So there's an opportunity there to do more. And as I was saying at the beginning of my talk, we're already at 40% adoption. Even when Rob came on and said, how many of you actually automate in your businesses? It was around 40% or less. So I think going back to awareness, education, and then uniformity in terms of what industry standard and what looks like, I think those are immediate opportunities for us. I don't think we have that yet, and that's why all of the things we do today kickstarts that exercise and mobilize it.
You have a follow-up question? Okay. Okay. So very interesting topic, and I'm sure we can have a whole lot of discussion on this. The purpose of this was just to put a thought so that we can all dwell on this evening, understand assimilate. And of course, you can always reach out to us, Laghu Udyog Bharati Karnataka, if you have any further questions, or if there's any other topic that you would want more information about, and it'll be great. I mean, we can always reach out to you and continue to see how we can collaborate and bring more answers. Right? Now like to hand over to Srividya again. Thank you so much for joining in, and thank you, Rob and Vijna.
Thank you, Vasudha, for moderating this session for us. Coming to the end of the program, I request our Secretary Anupama Rao to give the vote of thanks, please.
Very pleasant evening to everyone. As we come to the end of this insightful session, it is my privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizers of Global Food Pro 2027. First and foremost, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speakers, Dr. Bijna Kotak Dasani and Mr. Rob Neely, for sharing their valuable knowledge, experiences, and perspectives on the role of AI in the food industry. The sessions have truly given us deeper insights into innovation, technology adoption, and future opportunities available for Indian food businesses. I sincerely thank Laghu Udyog Bharati, IMS Foundation, and Global Network Institute for organizing this meaningful platform that brings together industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals under one roof. My gratitude also goes to all the dignitaries, guests, participants, MSMEs, startups, and members of the food industry for your enthusiastic participation and interaction throughout the session. A special appreciation for the organizing committee, volunteers, and support staff whose hard work and coordination ensured the smooth conduct of today's program. We hope today's interaction becomes a stepping stone towards stronger collaboration, innovation, and global opportunities through Global Food Pro 2027. Thank you once again to everyone present here. Wishing you all a continued success and good health. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, and please join us for networking over high tea. Thank you.